The internet is losing it. And you might be asking yourself, how could a simple Halloween costume cause a global uproar? But this isn't just any costume. This is the costume that took Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, and transformed her entire public persona into something absurd, ironic, and brutally mocked. Imagine walking into a store, seeing a cardboard box labeled Meghan Markle, and opening it to find not just a costume, but a narrative, a story of bronzer, lies, victim mentality, copycat tendencies, an idiotic husband, and kids sold separately. You might think this is satire taken too far, but the world is treating it like a cultural event, and the internet hasn't stopped reacting. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Within the first few hours of its viral launch, hashtags were trending on Twitter, TikTok videos were popping up by the thousands, and meme accounts that had been dormant for months suddenly found new life. People were debating, arguing, laughing, and outright yelling into the digital void. Is it funny? Is it cruel? Is it an exaggeration or the most precise satire of Meghan Markle's public life ever produced? And more importantly, what does this say about the way society elevates and then mercilessly tears down public figures, especially women in the spotlight? If you thought Halloween costumes were just about spooky fun, think again. This is no ordinary play on Dracula or Frankenstein. This is a costume that holds up a mirror to fame, privilege, and public perception, and it does it with surgical precision. Each label on the box is designed to trigger outrage and laughter simultaneously. Idiotic husband, it reads, referring to Prince Harry. Victim mentality, mocking what many perceive as Meghan's frequent public portrayal as the misunderstood or oppressed figure. Bronzer and choice of noses, poking fun at her appearance, while Ode to Copycat Spray takes aim at her alleged mimicry of other celebrities' causes or trends. And just when you think the satire can't get any more cutting, there's Shit Podcast and the ultimate dig. Kids sold separately. But before you dismiss this as just another viral joke, consider the scale. The costume isn't being sold quietly in a niche shop. It's everywhere online, buzzing across social platforms, and sparking debates on talk shows, celebrity podcasts, and even YouTube commentary channels. For many, this costume is more than Halloween. It's a cultural statement, a reflection of how fame can be weaponized against someone, how satire can blur with cruelty, and how the public consumes, judges, and vilifies celebrities in real time. Now, let's pause for a second. Ask yourself, would you have the courage to release a parody like this? Would you dare to mock someone still alive, still in the public eye, and still holding a significant position in the royal family narrative? The creators didn't just stop at surface-level humor. They meticulously labeled each aspect of the costume to reflect Meghan's public controversies, her lifestyle, and her perceived personal choices. Every detail is designed to provoke a reaction. Every word on the box is a deliberate strike at her persona, meant to ignite laughter, anger, or disbelief. And the internet responded exactly as expected. From Instagram stories flooding with pictures of the costume to YouTube clips analyzing each label in absurdly detailed fashion, the global response was instantaneous. People were sharing their reactions in real time, dissecting the packaging, comparing it to tabloids, and even creating memes that took the humor further. Some users suggested variations. What if there was a limited edition Meghan featuring extra bronzer, more noses, and even a miniature Ode to Copycat Spray in tiny vials? Others made compilations ranking the accuracy of each label based on her real-life public statements and actions. The internet, as it so often does, took the joke and amplified it into a worldwide conversation. And it didn't stop there. Celebrities began to weigh in. Some laughed outright, sharing videos and posts in jest. Others expressed disdain, claiming that the costume was an example of online cruelty gone too far. Social commentators, who rarely stay silent in moments of viral controversy, wrote op-eds dissecting the cultural significance, questioning why public figures are held to impossible standards, and debating the ethics of satire in the age of social media. Meanwhile, the memes kept coming, each one sharper, funnier, and more absurd than the last. But here's the thing. What makes this story truly fascinating is not just the costume itself, but what it reveals about Meghan Markle's enduring presence in the public consciousness. Whether you love her or loathe her, she is undeniably a figure who evokes strong emotion. People are willing to spend time, money, and energy mocking her, analyzing her, debating her choices. That level of attention says something about celebrity culture, about the internet's ability to amplify outrage and humor, and about the strange, almost ritualistic way society elevates and then dissects public figures. Even more intriguing is the notion of a book based on the costume, which some of the creators hinted at on social media. Imagine a parody book with the front page declaring, Meghan Markle comes with idiotic husband, victim mentality, bronzer, constant lies, choice of noses, Oda copycat spray, shit podcast, and kids sold separately. The sheer audacity of turning a costume into a published work, whether satire or social commentary, demonstrates the lengths people will go to monetize viral moments and the fascination society has with a single public figure's life, choices, and missteps. Think about the audacity here. This isn't just a costume to wear for Halloween. This is a statement piece, a conversation starter, a meme in physical form. People are buying it not just to dress up, but to participate in a global cultural joke, to be part of the commentary, to have a tangible representation of the internet's obsession with Meghan Markle. And every purchase, every post, every meme keeps the story alive, expanding it beyond Halloween into something that will be remembered, dissected, and laughed about for months to come. Now let's dig into the emotional undercurrent. This costume, while humorous to some, is also deeply polarizing. Fans of Meghan Markle are furious, calling it cruel and unnecessarily harsh. Critics, on the other hand, are celebrating the satire, arguing that it's a perfectly fitting parody of her media presence. And in the middle, there's a huge audience who simply can't look away, watching, sharing, and reacting with equal parts fascination and disbelief. This mix of outrage, humor, and obsession is exactly what makes the story perfect for a dramatic exposé. And the irony is striking. A woman who has been publicly scrutinized for her every action, comment, and fashion choice now finds herself turned into a packaged parody, sold and shipped, analyzed and laughed at, critiqued and celebrated, all at the same time. It's a cultural microcosm of fame, power, and social media's insatiable appetite for spectacle. Every label on the box becomes a symbolic representation of the narrative that the internet has crafted around her. And the most fascinating part? We haven't even begun to explore the deeper layers, the public reactions, the celebrity commentary, the memes, and the possible hidden meanings in each meticulously crafted label. So why should you care about this? Because this is more than a costume. It's a story about attention, obsession, culture, and how public figures are commodified in a world obsessed with virality. It's about humor that cuts deep, satire that provokes thought, and the internet's strange, relentless fascination with those who live in the spotlight. It's about watching society hold up a mirror to celebrity life and realizing that sometimes the reflection is darker and funnier than anyone could have predicted. And just when you think you've seen it all, just when you think the absurdity has reached its peak, there's another twist waiting. Behind the memes, behind the laughter, there's a world of reactions that most people don't see. The subtle nods of approval from insiders, the silent disdain from critics, and the explosive conversations on platforms where viral moments are born. The front page, the book, the viral posts, they're just the tip of the iceberg. What comes next? What happens after the internet stops laughing and starts analyzing? That's where the real story begins. And that's exactly what we're going to explore in this video. From the first viral post to the front page parody book, from memes to celebrity reactions, from outrage to fascination, we'll take you behind the scenes of the internet's obsession with Meghan Markle and the Halloween costume that made everyone stop, stare, and react. And trust me, you've never seen satire quite like this. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Did anyone really expect Halloween to be this brutal? A costume isn't supposed to break the internet. Or is it? When the first images of the Meghan Markle parody costume hit social media, it was like a bomb detonating across every platform simultaneously. Twitter users were simultaneously horrified, amused, and completely obsessed. TikTok creators were filming themselves opening the box, each label a punchline, each feature a mockery of a woman who had long been in the public eye. The first thing you noticed was the packaging. It looked innocent enough, a cardboard box with bright colors, playful font, a fake age recommendation for adult royal drama enthusiasts. But the moment you read the front, the tone changed. Meghan Markle comes with an idiotic husband, victim mentality, bronzer, constant lies, choice of noses, ode to copycat spray, shit podcast, kids sold separately. Each line was more outrageous than the last, and the internet went absolutely insane. People were sharing screenshots, dissecting each label, making TikToks that acted out what it would be like to wear the full Meghan experience. What's fascinating is how quickly it spread. Within hours, hundreds of posts were already circulating, each one building on the previous joke. Memes exploded, Twitter threads dissected the historical accuracy or inaccuracy of each label, and YouTube channels began producing unboxing videos that attracted thousands of viewers within minutes. People wanted to see it for themselves, and they wanted to witness every subtle insult, every sly jab hidden in the packaging. You could almost feel the tension online. There were the die-hard Meghan fans, furious at what they saw as an attack on her character. "This is cruel," one tweeted. "Absolutely disgusting." Another posted, "This isn't Halloween, it's harassment." And then there were the critics, laughing uncontrollably, arguing that the costume was a perfect satire. "It's exactly what she deserves," said one user. "Every label hits right where it should. Bronzer, lies, copycat, it's all true." The debate raged, splitting audiences into factions who either supported the parody or denounced it. But beyond the polarizing reactions, what really caught everyone's attention was the level of detail in the satire. This wasn't some hastily thrown together joke. Someone had spent hours analyzing Meghan Markle's public persona, her career moves, her podcast, her media appearances, and even her family life. And they distilled it into a tangible, physical object that could be displayed, unboxed, and shared. It was satire taken to a level that most people didn't know existed. Now, let's be honest. How many times have we seen a celebrity mocked online, only to watch it fade into obscurity? This was different. This wasn't a tweet or a blog post or a viral video. This was a costume, a three-dimensional, tactile statement. And as soon as someone bought it, filmed it, and posted it online, the cycle started again. It was replicable, shareable, and incredibly easy to turn into a meme. And as memes go, this one had legs. The comedy wasn't subtle either. The choice of noses label prompted an entire slew of jokes comparing Meghan Markle's features to historical figures, cartoon characters, and even fictional villains. Ode to copycat spray became a trending hashtag on TikTok, with creators spraying perfume bottles dramatically, pretending to replicate Meghan's style or causes. And then there was the shit podcast section, which people treated almost reverently, reviewing every episode of her podcast through the lens of the costume and laughing at the accuracy of the jab. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a few lonely social media posts. Traditional media caught on fast. Talk shows discussed it, morning news segments debated it, and tabloid outlets ran headlines about the costume itself. The frenzy wasn't limited to one platform. It swept across YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, and TikTok simultaneously, creating a cross-platform spectacle that few could ignore. Even casual internet users who weren't following Meghan Markle closely suddenly found themselves scrolling through endless posts, GIFs, and viral videos about a costume. Here's the irony. In the middle of all this, Meghan Markle's actual team didn't respond publicly at first. No statements, no press releases, no social media acknowledgement. That silence only fueled speculation. Did they see it as harmless satire? Were they furious? Or were they planning a counter-strategy? The internet filled the vacuum with wild guesses, conspiracy theories, and heated debates. It was the perfect storm. The more silent the subject, the louder the commentary. And then came the memes. Oh, the memes. People weren't just posting photos of the costume. They were acting them out. TikTok creators filmed themselves transforming into the full Meghan experience, donning bronzer, fake noses, and acting with exaggerated victim energy. YouTube compilations appeared titled, "Opening the Meghan Markle Costume, Internet Reacts," with thousands of views in just hours. Reddit threads debated which feature of the costume was the most offensive or the funniest. People were ranking bronzer versus noses, victim mentality versus copycat tendencies, debating which aspect captured her essence most perfectly. The public reaction also brought up something deeper about celebrity culture. Think about it. Why are we so obsessed with mocking one person? Why did a simple Halloween parody become an event? Because Meghan Markle occupies a unique space. She's loved, hated, analyzed, and dissected. Every move she makes is public property in the eyes of the internet. She's a global figure with an intense online presence, and every meme, every joke, every viral clip reinforces the narrative, whether accurate or exaggerated, that society has constructed around her. And yet, there was a strange undercurrent to the chaos. Amid the laughter, outrage, and disbelief, there were subtle nods of recognition. People admitted that the satire had elements of truth. Some skeptics had to laugh despite themselves, acknowledging that the costume, while cruel, did touch on aspects of Meghan Markle's public life that were impossible to ignore. Bronzer, podcast failures, copycat accusations. These were all real discussions that had existed online for years, now distilled into a single, outrageous package. What made the situation even more surreal was the reaction from celebrities and influencers. Some couldn't resist commenting, amplifying the reach even further. A late-night comedian joked about wearing the costume for his next skit. Influencers posted unboxing videos, making over-the-top reactions to each label. Even people who normally avoided online drama couldn't resist scrolling, laughing, and sharing. The costume wasn't just viral, it was a phenomenon. And here's where it gets even more intense. The costume wasn't intended as just a one-time gag. The creators hinted at additional layers, maybe even a book based on the same labels. A physical product transforming satire into literature. The internet immediately speculated on what the pages would contain. Would there be illustrations? Commentary? Easter eggs referencing royal scandals? Every detail promised to escalate the frenzy further. People were already analyzing potential chapters online, predicting which of Meghan's alleged personality traits would appear next. And all this chaos raises a question. Why do we participate so willingly in this kind of cultural spectacle? Why do we share, retweet, meme, and laugh at a person's life distilled into a parody costume? Is it cruelty? Entertainment? Social bonding? Perhaps all of the above. The Meghan Markle Halloween costume wasn't just a product. It was a mirror reflecting the internet's obsession with fame, scandal, and drama. It forced people to confront their fascination with public figures and the extreme lengths we go to in order to critique, mock, and entertain ourselves. But what came next would change the story entirely. Because while memes, social media, and media coverage were already in overdrive, an unexpected twist was about to occur. Celebrity reactions, the front-page book reveal, and the next viral wave of internet commentary would push this parody into completely uncharted territory. The world thought it had seen the pinnacle of absurdity, but it was only the beginning. What does it mean when a costume comes with a warning label about the spouse? Idiotic husband read the front of the box, and the internet exploded. For anyone familiar with royal gossip, the line was an instant viral trigger. But why did a simple label generate such widespread fascination? Because it didn't just target Meghan. It targeted Harry too, reducing one of the most famous couples in the world into a punchline, a pre-packaged narrative, and an object of ridicule. It began almost immediately after the costume went viral. Twitter users were dissecting the choice of words. Idiotic husband? That's harsh, one user wrote. Accurate, another countered. TikTok creators filmed mock unboxings with someone wearing a Prince Harry mask, fumbling with the costume, pretending to trip over everything, or mispronouncing titles. Every exaggeration was met with laughter and outrage in equal measure. Instagram Reels and meme pages shared compilations of the funniest reactions, often splicing Harry's awkward interviews with clips of the costume's features. The humor, while sharp, touched on deeper themes about the couple's public image. Harry, long seen as the fun-loving, rebellious royal, had also been criticized for impulsive decisions, high-profile controversies, and actions that sometimes seemed out of sync with traditional royal expectations. Meghan, meanwhile, had a more complicated image, often portrayed as strategic, media-savvy, and assertive. By combining them into a single package, the costume condensed years of media narratives into a simple, digestible joke. But the joke wasn't just on Harry or Meghan. It was on the culture that created and consumed these stories. The mini-dramas of their relationship were ripe for satire. From public missteps in interviews to media leaks, from controversial charitable ventures to viral wardrobe choices, the couple had provided the internet with a steady stream of content for years. The costumes label acted like a meta-commentary, acknowledging all the absurdity, while also poking fun at the way the public had constructed Harry as a bumbling sidekick to Meghan's perceived dominance. It was cruel, it was funny, and it was irresistible. One viral TikTok compilation even compared Prince Harry to the accessory that came with the costume, much like a plastic belt or a fake mustache in other dress-up sets. The creator humorously narrated, "You get the Duchess, the bronzer, the lies, but don't forget the idiot husband," available for awkward interactions and unplanned interviews. Clips of Harry tripping on the red carpet, making gaffes during public speeches, or awkwardly waving at crowds were intercut with slow-motion effects and dramatic music, creating the perfect comedic montage. But here's the contradiction. While the internet laughed at the portrayal, there was also an underlying fascination with why the couple remained so scrutinized. Why did people feel the need to package a royal marriage as a joke? Why was Harry's public persona so intertwined with Meghan's, to the point that they could be reduced to a few words on a cardboard box? Perhaps it was because the public had long followed their story, from courtships to charity work, from media battles to royal departures. Every decision, every public appearance, every interview became fuel for analysis. And this costume became the ultimate commentary, the distilled essence of years of speculation and observation. Social media didn't just stop at jokes. Comment sections quickly filled with debates. Was Harry really idiotic? Or was this an exaggeration? Was Meghan portrayed unfairly as the controlling partner? Did the costume reflect actual dynamics? Or was it simply the public's perception amplified into satire? Influencers jumped into the discussion, posting side-by-side comparisons of the couple's early royal appearances versus their current media narratives. Analysts on YouTube dissected the humor, framing it as a reflection of society's obsession with celebrity marriages. The conversation became a cultural commentary disguised as comedy. The satire even spilled into traditional media. Headlines appeared questioning the ethics of the label. Is it fair to call Prince Harry idiotic? One outlet asked, while another described it as a brutal but hilarious take on a couple that the internet loves to scrutinize. Talk shows debated whether this was harmless parody or the latest example of online cruelty. Every discussion looped back to the costume, giving it more visibility and adding layers to the narrative. Meanwhile, the couple themselves were absent from public comment. No statements, no denials, no social media posts. That silence created its own drama. The absence of a response fueled more speculation, more memes, more unboxing videos, and more headlines. Some theorized that Harry and Meghan were ignoring it deliberately, letting the internet rage while remaining above the fray. Others suggested that Meghan might secretly appreciate the satire, a testament to her media savvy. And still others thought it was a calculated PR move to stay silent and watch the virality unfold organically. Then came the next twist: fan creations. Meme accounts began generating their own versions of the idiotic husband label, placing Harry in increasingly absurd scenarios. One TikTok featured him as a mini doll falling off a royal throne. Another imagined a board game, Survive Royal Life with Meghan and idiotic Harry, with obstacles referencing public scandals. Even YouTube compilations had users ranking the humor of each meme, creating a feedback loop of laughter and outrage that kept the costume trending for weeks. And it wasn't just about the laughs. There was also an emotional undercurrent. Some viewers expressed sympathy for Harry, noting that the joke was particularly cruel to him. Others debated whether the humor reflected misogyny, with Meghan portrayed as dominant while Harry became the punchline. It was a fascinating cultural moment, where comedy, criticism, and social commentary collided in the most visible way possible. The humor escalated further with TikTok skits portraying Harry struggling with every other feature of the costume. He fumbled with bronzer, misread instructions on the choice of noses, and awkwardly sprayed the eau de copycat perfume. Punchlines landed hard, viewers laughed uncontrollably, and the satire became performative. The costume had evolved from a joke to a spectacle, a full-blown interactive commentary on celebrity culture, media obsession, and the couple's shared public image. By now, it was clear the label idiotic husband was more than a joke. It was a trigger, a statement, a cultural lightning rod that provoked debate, laughter, and outrage simultaneously. People weren't just observing the joke, they were participating in it, amplifying it, interpreting it, and dissecting it. And in doing so, they were revealing something larger about society. Our collective obsession with fame, our fascination with the absurd, and our willingness to package real human lives into digestible satire for entertainment. And just when the internet thought it had seen the ultimate punchline, the costume's other labels began to steal the spotlight. Victim mentality was next, a phrase that would spark debates about narrative control, media framing, and Meghan Markle's public persona. The focus shifted, expanding the story and leaving people asking, how far could the satire go? Could it get any more savage? And would the public ever stop reacting? But what came next would elevate the costume from viral joke to full-blown cultural phenomenon, and no one saw it coming. Victim mentality. Just those two words, and the internet erupted again. What does it mean when a Halloween costume brands someone with a psychological trait as if it were an accessory you could put on and take off? It's absurd, yet, somehow, perfectly on brand for Meghan Markle. The moment the victim mentality label was revealed, Twitter blew up with reactions ranging from outrage to laughter to bewilderment. People debated what it said about her, and by extension, about society's fascination with royalty, celebrity, and public image. From the beginning, Meghan's public life has been a lightning rod for scrutiny. Every interview, every charitable project, every public appearance has been analyzed, critiqued, and occasionally misrepresented. Some people see her as a strategic, intelligent figure navigating a rigid institution. Others see her as someone constantly playing the victim, painting herself as misunderstood, oppressed, or under attack. The costume didn't just acknowledge that divide, it amplified it, and in the process, made millions of viewers examine their own perceptions of her. The victim mentality label became a meme within hours. TikTok creators acted out exaggerated versions of Meghan adopting this persona, dramatically shielding herself from invisible critics, holding imaginary microphones, or fainting at minor inconveniences. One particularly viral video depicted a full costume unboxing, with the victim mentality label highlighted in glittering gold letters, and the creator wailing dramatically, "They won't let me live." The exaggerated performance made people laugh while also prompting discussions about public perception versus private reality. What's fascinating is how quickly the satire became self-reflexive. People didn't just joke about Meghan, they joked about themselves, acknowledging their own fascination with her life and controversies. Am I laughing at her, or am I laughing at myself for caring so much? One tweet asked. The costume forced a mirror up to society, revealing how invested we had become in dissecting every royal misstep, every alleged slight, every rumored controversy. The humor was a vehicle, but the underlying commentary was sharp. The public loves to watch someone play victim, and even more, we love to package it for our own entertainment. Memes weren't the only channel of engagement. Instagram Reels and YouTube compilations featured side-by-side clips of Meghan making public statements, juxtaposed with dramatic music and text calling out her victim energy. News outlets began weighing in, analyzing the fairness of the label. Is this costume cruel, or is it commentary on a narrative she has carefully cultivated? Asked one headline. Satire or harassment? Questioned another. Across social media, the debate raged, dividing audiences along lines of opinion, loyalty, and humor tolerance. Yet, the genius of this label was its relatability. Even those who defended Meghan found themselves laughing, albeit nervously, at the accuracy of some of the satire. After all, everyone has moments where they feel victimized, misunderstood, or singled out. The costume exaggerated that universal human trait and packaged it as part of a global spectacle. It allowed viewers to engage with her persona in a way that was both humorous and critical, drawing on cultural knowledge of her public life and our collective obsession with celebrity vulnerability. And then, there was the commentary from celebrities and influencers. Late-night hosts couldn't resist poking fun at the label. TikTok stars created parody skits with exaggerated size, rolling eyes, and dramatic fainting, mimicking the trope of constant victimhood. Even fashion bloggers joined in, juxtaposing her red carpet looks with theatrical reenactments of publicized controversies. The satire had evolved from a joke into a performance art piece, and the internet was the audience. But beyond the humor, there was a subtle critique embedded in the satire. The victim mentality label highlighted how public figures are trapped in narratives constructed by the media, the public, and even themselves. Meghan's life, like anyone else in the spotlight, is subject to interpretation and reinterpretation. Every action she takes is scrutinized, and the line between reality and perception becomes blurred. The costume distilled years of public discourse into one simple, provocative label, asking viewers to question how much of what we see online is true and how much is projected. The emotional spikes continued as fan discussions exploded. Reddit threads were filled with debates. Was the costume unfair, or was it a clever reflection of media portrayal? Did it cross a line, or was it simply a creative expression? Users argued over the ethics of satire, the power dynamics of celebrity mockery, and the societal obsession with observing, judging, and commenting on famous lives. Some defended Meghan, arguing that branding her with victim mentality reduced complex experiences to a punchline. Others embraced it, saying the label reflected a pattern that had long been discussed in media commentary. Even the humor itself contained contradictions. The label was mocking yet relatable. The satire was cruel yet funny. People laughed at the exaggeration while simultaneously questioning the fairness. The internet thrives on these contradictions, consuming and amplifying content that straddles multiple emotional poles at once. And this costume, with its victim mentality label, did exactly that. It created tension, sparked discussion, and entertained all at the same time. And then came the unexpected twists. The costume's virality inspired derivative content, parody memes highlighting victim mentality across other public figures, mock, victim handbooks, and even GIF compilations of Meghan's most criticized public statements. Each iteration of the satire reinforced the original joke, pushing it further into cultural consciousness. The public wasn't just consuming the costume. They were participating, reshaping it, and turning it into a communal experience. Some of the funniest and cruelest moments emerged from social media interactions that combined humor with shock value. For example, creators began imagining scenarios where the victim mentality label was activated at inappropriate moments. Meghan fainting at minor inconveniences, dramatically overreacting to paparazzi flashes, or refusing gifts at charity events. The exaggeration made audiences laugh, but it also sparked debates about media portrayal and fairness. Was this accurate, or was it a caricature amplified by public obsession? And yet, amidst the laughter, there was a human element that people couldn't ignore. Even as the satire ridiculed her persona, viewers acknowledged that being in the public eye is relentless. Every word, every action, every outfit, every charitable initiative is examined, critiqued, and scrutinized. In a strange way, the costume was holding up a mirror not just to Meghan, but to society itself, showing how cruel, obsessive, and performative public engagement can be. But just when you thought the internet had fully dissected the victim mentality label, the next layer of the costume emerged. Bronzer, lies, and choice of noses, the labels that would take the satire to a whole new level of audacity. Memes evolved, TikToks proliferated, YouTube analyses exploded. And the public? They were completely hooked, unable to stop scrolling, clicking, and laughing at the relentless creativity of this viral phenomenon. Because the victim mentality label wasn't just a joke. It was the foundation. It set the tone for everything that followed, priming audiences for the next wave of satire and outrage. And the next section of the costume, the one targeting appearance and honesty, would push the spectacle further than anyone expected. But what came next would be even more absurd, and it would spark debates about beauty, media narratives, and the thin line between humor and cruelty. Bronzer, lies, choice of noses. Just 3 words, but the internet reacted as if someone had set off a cultural bomb. When the next labels on the Meghan Markle Halloween costume were revealed, it wasn't just a continuation of the satire. It was a full-blown escalation. This was no longer just about victim mentality or marital mockery. Now, the costume was attacking her appearance, her perceived honesty, and the very essence of her identity. The moment the image of the costume hit social media, it sparked an avalanche of reactions. Twitter blew up with threads analyzing the humor, the cruelty, and the irony. Choice of noses? Are we really doing this? One user tweeted, half outraged, half amused. Instagram stories exploded with screenshots, creators applying bronzer in dramatic, exaggerated fashion to mimic the parody. TikTok users filmed themselves trying on mock noses, pointing to the ridiculousness of having a selection of noses as if physical features were accessories to choose from. It was absurd, yet mesmerizing. What's fascinating is how these labels captured two opposing, yet intertwined public narratives. On one hand, Meghan has been criticized for her appearance. Bronzer too heavy, makeup too dramatic, sometimes accused of looking different from publicized images. On the other, there's the perception that she's media-savvy, carefully crafting her image and occasionally using it to shape public narratives. The costume took both of these threads and turned them into physical objects. The bronzer, a symbol of vanity, the lies, a nod to public skepticism, and the choice of noses, a grotesque exaggeration of scrutiny over physical traits. The humor didn't stop at visuals. People began creating videos where they unboxed the different noses, choosing one, then dramatically applying bronzer, while voiceovers mocked exaggerated lies attributed to Meghan. YouTube compilations titled "Trying on the Meghan Deluxe Set" racked up thousands of views, with commenters debating which nose most accurately represented public perception of her. Even those who didn't typically follow royal drama found themselves scrolling, laughing, and sharing, captivated by the absurdity. And yet, the satire wasn't just cruel, it was strangely precise. Social media users dissected every label with an analytical lens. Bronzer became a metaphor not just for makeup, but for perceived image control. Lies referenced both the gossip about alleged deception and the skepticism surrounding public statements. Choice of noses highlighted how obsessively people critique even the most minor physical details of public figures. Each label acted as a distilled commentary on Meghan's life under public scrutiny, compressed into a single, tangible package. The commentary extended into traditional media as well. Morning shows ran segments dissecting the costume, while tabloids debated whether it crossed the line. Some commentators argued it was hilarious and fair, a reflection of years of public fascination. Others condemned it as unnecessarily cruel, claiming that turning someone's appearance into a punchline was a new low in celebrity satire. And through it all, the costume's virality continued to snowball, driven by memes, remixes, and endless online discussion. TikTok trends amplified the absurdity. One video showed a person dramatically switching noses while over-applying bronzer, each change punctuated by exaggerated size and a mock announcement. Now with 20% more lies, 50% more bronzer, and a customizable nose selection, viewers couldn't stop watching. Comments ranged from laughter to outrage to philosophical musings about celebrity obsession. Are we laughing at her, or at ourselves for caring this much? Humor aside, there was an emotional spike in public perception. The lies label reignited debates about trust, authenticity, and media representation. Meghan has long been scrutinized for her statements, with every interview and public comment analyzed for potential deceit or manipulation. By including this in the costume, the creators were not just mocking her. They were pointing out the fragility of public perception and the ease with which a narrative can be amplified or distorted. The choice of noses label also struck a chord. People began creating Photoshop memes, swapping noses onto Meghan's face from famous actors, historical figures, and even cartoon characters. The absurdity was layered with commentary about the public's obsession with celebrity appearance and how every detail can become a point of critique or humor. Discussions on Reddit and Twitter debated whether this label was cruel or a clever exaggeration of society's fixation on image. Meanwhile, influencers added their own spins. Beauty gurus posted side-by-side comparisons of the bronzer in the box with Meghan's red carpet looks. Comedians incorporated the labels into sketches, portraying exaggerated versions of media critiques. The satire had expanded beyond the costume into a full cultural phenomenon, blurring the line between parody, critique, and entertainment. And then, there were the contradictions that made the satire so compelling. The humor was both cruel and relatable. The critique of lies acknowledged public skepticism while also highlighting how difficult it is for anyone in the spotlight to live authentically. The bronzer joke was both a superficial jab and a deeper comment on the scrutiny of women in media. The choice of noses was both grotesque and hilarious, pointing out society's obsession with minor physical details while entertaining those very obsessions. Social media discussions reflected this tension. Some users defended Meghan, arguing that the satire was excessive and personal. Others praised the creativity, noting how each label captured a facet of public perception in an exaggerated yet recognizable way. Analysts on YouTube and Instagram commented on the cultural significance, how a single costume could distill complex narratives into a tangible, shareable, and endlessly remixable format. What made this part of the costume particularly viral was the performative aspect. People weren't just observing, they were participating. TikTok videos showed users dramatically applying bronzer, switching noses, or acting out publicized statements, all while narrating exaggerated lies. Instagram Reels documented friends laughing, staging their own mock unboxing experiences, and turning the costume into interactive comedy. The costume had evolved from a joke into a participatory cultural event, and the emotional beats were undeniable. The satire forced audiences to confront their own obsession with celebrity culture. Why were we so captivated by this? Why did we care about noses, makeup, or truthfulness to this degree? The costume became a mirror, reflecting not just Meghan's public persona, but also the collective fixation on the lives of the famous. It was cruel, yes, but also revealing. Just when the online frenzy seemed unstoppable, the next label awaited. Eau de copycat spray. A perfect escalation. A satirical jab at alleged imitation, trend following, and cultural mimicry. It promised to push the absurdity further while sparking a fresh round of debate, memes, and viral content. But what came next would transform the satire from commentary on image to commentary on influence, imitation, and the lengths the internet would go to magnify humor and outrage alike. Eau de copycat spray. Just those 3 words, and the internet lost it all over again. What could possibly be distilled into a tiny label, yet cause a tidal wave of memes, debate, and outrage? It was perfect satire, cutting through Meghan Markle's public persona like a scalpel, while also tapping into a cultural obsession with originality, influence, and imitation. The moment the label was revealed on the Halloween costume, social media erupted, and within hours, the world seemed to have entered a collective frenzy. The genius of the label lay in its simplicity. It mocked allegations that Meghan often mimicked trends, charitable campaigns, and even public appearances set by other celebrities. Whether these claims were true, exaggerated, or completely fabricated, the internet ran with it. TikTok creators filmed themselves spraying invisible perfume bottles while pretending to copy celebrity outfits, gestures, or public statements. Instagram Reels exploded with exaggerated commentary, users dramatically sniffing the air, captioned, "I smell a copycat." Even YouTube unboxing videos took it to extremes, with creators acting as if the spray had magical powers to replicate Meghan's every move. What made this part of the costume so captivating was the underlying commentary. In a world dominated by social media, imitation and inspiration are unavoidable, but the label twisted it into a weaponized stereotype. The satire pointed out that in Meghan's case, critics and followers alike often accused her of mimicking other public figures or trends, whether in fashion, philanthropy, or public messaging. By turning this perception into a literal spray, the costume reduced complex debates about influence and originality into a physical, shareable, and hilariously absurd object. And the memes didn't stop. Social media users created TikTok compilations showing themselves transforming into Meghan by spritzing the eau de copycat spray, instantly adopting exaggerated personas, phrases, and gestures associated with her. Comment sections were filled with debates about what counts as copying, imitation, or inspiration. Some defended her, claiming that creativity always builds on what came before. Others insisted it was a hilarious reflection of public perception. The label was working on multiple levels at once: humor, critique, and cultural commentary. Traditional media also joined the conversation. Online outlets published think pieces discussing whether the label was fair or cruel. "Is it parody or character assassination?" asked one headline. Talk shows analyzed the label, with comedians offering exaggerated skits of copycat Meghan, spraying the air and mimicking world leaders, influencers, and royals alike. Even magazines ran feature spreads imagining the spray as a beauty product capable of transforming anyone into a caricature of the Duchess of Sussex. The costume had become a viral cultural artifact, discussed and dissected far beyond Halloween. But there was more to it than just jokes. The ode to copycat spray tapped into deep-seated contradictions about celebrity culture and public perception. On one hand, imitation is a natural part of influence. Everyone borrows ideas, styles, and gestures. On the other, the public scrutinizes and weaponizes perceived mimicry, turning it into evidence of inauthenticity or deception. The label captured both sides of this debate, highlighting the absurdity of judging someone for inspiration while simultaneously acknowledging that public figures are held to impossible standards. Influencers and creators found endless ways to engage with the concept. TikTok challenges emerged where users would spray themselves and then perform exaggerated versions of public speeches, charity announcements, or red carpet interviews. Instagram memes paired the label with photoshopped images of Meghan mirroring other celebrities mirroring her, or even entirely unrelated public figures pretending to copycat her style. The humor was relentless, the creativity was endless, and the public couldn't get enough. Yet, amid the laughter, there was an undercurrent of reflection. Why did the world care so much about alleged imitation? Why did this label, more than any other, seem to provoke discussions about ethics, originality, and media influence? Some commentators suggested that it reflected society's obsession with authenticity in an age where public personas are meticulously curated. Others argued that the humor merely amplified pre-existing biases, using satire as a shield to justify ridicule. The emotional tension grew further as celebrity reactions started to surface. Some found the satire hilarious, posting videos pretending to mimic Meghan after spraying themselves. Others were less amused, expressing concern that the label crossed a line, mocking creativity and personal expression. The dichotomy between enjoyment and outrage kept the conversation alive, reinforcing the viral momentum. Each new video, meme, and reaction seemed to validate the costume's cultural significance, turning a Halloween joke into a conversation about fame, originality, and media perception. And then came the unexpected twist. YouTube creators began combining all the previous labels into a single, extended performance. Bronzer, choice of noses, lies, victim mentality, and now ode to copycat spray. Each feature was enacted in increasingly absurd, theatrical ways. In one viral video, a creator sprayed themselves while switching noses and over-applying bronzer, dramatically reciting a series of lies while fainting into a plush chair. Viewers couldn't stop watching, commenting, and sharing. The satire had become performance art, interactive and immersive, and the costume itself had evolved into a living cultural phenomenon. The social commentary embedded in this humor was impossible to ignore. The costume, through the ode to copycat spray label, highlighted how society perceives influence and originality, and how quickly satire can become a lens for critique. It forced audiences to confront the tension between amusement and judgment, exaggeration and truth, parody and reality. And the more people engaged with it, the more it spiraled into a viral spectacle, blurring the lines between commentary, entertainment, and social experiment. But just when you thought the satire had reached its peak, the costume introduced another feature designed to provoke debate: the shit podcast. And this next label would take the ridicule from image and imitation to the realm of professional endeavors, sparking new waves of criticism, laughter, and viral engagement. What happened next would shift the focus from appearance and personality to ambition, media presence, and the ways public perception can transform even professional work into fodder for satire. And it was about to get brutally hilarious. The shit podcast. Just 4 words, and suddenly, the costume had entered an entirely new level of ridicule. Up until now, the satire had focused on Meghan Markle's persona, appearance, and public narrative. Bronzer, noses, lies, victim mentality, ode to copycat spray. All these poked fun at perception, speculation, and image. But the shit podcast label cut deeper. It was no longer about how she looked or how she was perceived. This jab targeted her creative output, her professional endeavors, and, by extension, her influence on media. Social media erupted almost immediately. Twitter blew up with memes imagining someone unboxing the costume and finding a tiny microphone labeled "shit podcast." TikTok users filmed themselves performing over-the-top, fake podcast segments, speaking in exaggerated tones, pretending to interview invisible guests or host nonsensical discussions about charity, celebrity gossip, or personal drama. "It's just so bad," one creator said, dramatically dropping a fake microphone. And it comes with bronzer. The combination of visual absurdity and verbal satire created a viral storm that the internet couldn't resist. But why did this label resonate so strongly? For years, Meghan Markle had expanded her public profile beyond royal duties into media ventures. Podcasts, interviews, and appearances on platforms like Spotify or Apple Music positioned her as a cultural influencer, a thought leader, and a storyteller. Whether fans appreciated her content or criticized it, it became a visible part of her brand. By including "shit podcast" as a feature of the costume, the creators distilled years of media scrutiny and critique into one punchline, reducing an entire creative project into a digestible, shareable joke. And the humor was sharp. YouTube creators produced mock reviews of the imaginary podcast segment that came with the costume. One channel hilariously acted out a podcast episode in which Meghan discussed topics like charity work while dodging imaginary critics, all while applying bronzer and swapping noses. TikTok compilations mashed up clips of Meghan speaking in past interviews with overlaid text mocking the perceived pretentiousness or monotony of her media ventures. The comedy thrived on exaggeration, but it was rooted in cultural context. The audience understood exactly what was being referenced, and that made it all the more entertaining. The label also sparked heated debates. Social media users were split. Some argued that critiquing the podcast was fair, pointing to low ratings, controversial topics, or a perceived lack of originality. Others defended Meghan, emphasizing that she was expanding her voice, using media platforms to share personal insights, and creating content that inspired discussion and dialogue. The label, while comedic, touched a nerve. It prompted questions about public expectations for celebrity media endeavors, the fine line between satire and cruelty, and how much scrutiny creative work should endure when the creator is a public figure. And then there was the meta-humor. TikTok trends began instructing viewers to perform exaggerated podcast segments as part of a challenge. Apply bronzer, choose a nose, spritz eau de copycat spray, and then deliver absurd commentary in a mock podcast format. Instagram Reels documented friends staging dramatic live recordings of the shit podcast segment, complete with fake microphones, glittering boxes, and exaggerated size. Viewers were not just observing, they were participating. The satire had transcended the costume itself, evolving into interactive performance art fueled by shared laughter and social media participation. The mainstream media couldn't resist either. Headlines debated whether the label crossed the line or was simply an effective satire of celebrity media ventures. A costume that critiques creative output? Genius or cruel? One article asked. Talk show hosts joked about what the shit podcast segment might entail, speculating wildly about topics ranging from alleged royal drama to banal lifestyle commentary. Even print media jumped in, publishing side-by-side analyses of the costume versus Meghan's actual media appearances, highlighting both exaggeration and kernel of truth moments. And yet, the absurdity didn't undermine the emotional spike. For many viewers, the label invoked a tension between humor and empathy. On one hand, people laughed uncontrollably at the over-the-top satire. On the other, some recognized the cruelty inherent in mocking someone's professional endeavors, especially when she was being criticized for daring to have a voice beyond royal duties. The costume, in a way, forced audiences to reflect on their own complicity in public shaming, media amplification, and the relentless cycle of celebrity critique. TikTok and YouTube creators escalated the satire by combining the shit podcast with other features from the costume. Users acted out full podcast episodes while applying bronzer, switching noses, and pretending to spray eau de copycat spray. Reddit threads debated which segment of the costume best captured Meghan's public persona, with many agreeing that the shit podcast was the most ambitious and polarizing element. Some praised it for its creativity, others criticized it for being unnecessarily personal. Either way, the attention fueled further virality. The emotional beats continued to escalate when influencers, journalists, and casual viewers began theorizing about how Meghan herself might react if she ever saw the costume. Would she laugh at the satire? Would she be furious? Or would she ignore it entirely, letting the internet frenzy take on a life of its own? These speculations added another layer of engagement, prompting viewers to comment, debate, and share their predictions. The costume wasn't just a joke. It had become a living, evolving conversation piece. Then came the derivative content. Fans and meme creators began imagining other professional endeavors that could be satirized in the same way. Shit book club, shit charity gala, shit press conference. All playful extensions of the original joke, demonstrating how satire can evolve far beyond its initial form. The shit podcast label became a cultural template, illustrating how one small design choice on a costume could ripple across social media, traditional media, and creative communities worldwide. And just when the internet thought it had exhausted its energy on this label, the next part of the costume awaited. The ultimate insult, the kids sold separately label. It promised to take the satire from professional ventures to personal life, sparking outrage, disbelief, and viral discussion in equal measure. But what came next would take the costume, and the internet's obsession, to unprecedented levels, and no one saw how far the joke could go. Kids sold separately. Those 3 words. 3 small words, yet they detonated the internet like a bomb. While every other label on the Meghan Markle Halloween costume had teased, joked, and mocked her persona, appearance, and media endeavors, this one went straight for the most personal part of her life, her family. And the reaction was instantaneous, explosive, and utterly chaotic. Social media users didn't just laugh, they gasped, debated, and shared with alarming speed. The outrage began almost immediately. Twitter was ablaze with posts like, "Kids sold separately? This is a new low, and absolutely brutal. Can't believe someone actually put that on a box." Yet, alongside the outrage, there was also laughter. Nervous, incredulous laughter. Memes proliferated. Little plastic dolls representing Archie and Lilibet were photoshopped with labels like "available for separate purchase" or "limited edition," poking fun at the commercialization of celebrity lives. TikTok videos dramatized unboxing the children, with creators acting horrified, amused, or both, reacting as if the absurdity of the satire were real. What made this label so intense was the way it touched on cultural taboos. Mocking a public figure's family, particularly children, is often seen as off-limits. Yet the costume managed to push boundaries while maintaining satire. It highlighted the extremes of celebrity culture, how the public obsesses over every aspect of a royal family's life, how children are scrutinized, photographed, and speculated about, often without consent. In this case, the joke was grotesquely literal, presenting Meghan's children as optional accessories in a parody of commodification. The social media reaction was immediate and multi-layered. On one hand, critics said it was cruel and inappropriate, questioning the ethics of turning children into jokes. On the other hand, humorists praised the satire as a sharp commentary on the public's obsession with celebrity offspring. TikTok challenges emerged where users staged mock shopping experiences, dramatically selecting which child to unbox first, complete with exaggerated reactions, glitter, and absurd packaging. Instagram Reels recreated the scenario, adding humorous voiceovers and sarcastic commentary. The participatory element of the satire propelled the label to viral heights. Meanwhile, news outlets and commentators weighed in. Headlines asked whether this was harassment, satire, or simply the most ruthless parody of the year. Late-night hosts and morning shows dissected the label with dramatic flair, highlighting its audacity while attempting to balance outrage with humor. Social media experts debated why audiences were simultaneously horrified and entertained. The consensus, the label had tapped into something deeply provocative, blurring the line between personal attack and cultural critique. What made it even more impactful was how it tied into Meghan's broader public image. The Duchess has long been criticized or celebrated for her approach to family privacy, media interactions, and parenting style. By including kids sold separately, the costume distilled years of public speculation, leaks, and commentary into a single, provocative joke. It became a commentary not just on Meghan but on society itself, exposing the public's obsession with celebrity children, the media's relentless coverage, and the cultural fascination with royal family dynamics. TikTok creators and meme artists were relentless. One viral video staged a mock auction for the kids, complete with dramatic commentary, playful bickering, and exaggerated reactions from parents.